All set.
Okay, this is verse 34 in chapter 1 of the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Siddhasana, Padmasana, Simhasana, and Bhadrasana. These are the four main asanas. Always sit comfortable in Siddhasana because it is the best. A correct meditative posture is most important to a yogi. Therefore, Swat Marama advises that any follower of Matsyenda Rathna must practice these four asanas. Hatha Ratnavali also lists these four as the most important. The Shiva Sadhita says Siddhasana, Padmasana, Urgrasana, and Swastikasana are most important. The Garaksha Satkara mentions only two asanas as most important, Siddhasana and Padmasana. Siddhasana is practiced by men. The equivalent for women is Siddha Yoni Asana. The other three asanas can be practiced by both. Siddhasana is known as the pose of the perfectionist or the pose of perfection. Padmasana is the lotus posture, also known as Kamalasana. Simhasana is the lying posture, and Bhadrasana is the gracious pose. Verse 35, Siddhasana adept's pose. So here is, let's see if we can do this because this is an iPad. So
Yeah.
Can you see?
Yep.
Okay. So that is the first version of Siddhasana. And then there's two other versions presented. Here's one, and here is the next one. So the last one, this one here, is, I hope, well, let's see. Here we go.
Yep.
It is, okay, great. That's the one for women to practice. I am not sure why there is a gender.
It's because of the way, I think if we were reading the how to do it, it's how the heel. It's the heel of the left foot. Is different for men and women.
Okay.
Or in the what?
Oh, well, I was going to continue reading, but.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Siddhasana can only be practiced by men. Its equivalent for women is called Siddhi Yoni Asana. It is practiced in the same way as Siddhasana, except that the lower heel is pressed into the opening of the vagina and the upper heel rests against the clitoris. The toes of both feet are inserted between the thigh and the calf muscle. Siddhasana is very important for stimulating Anja chakra and controlling nervous and pranic impulses from Muladhara and Hana chakras. When Anja is awakened, the realm of pure consciousness is experienced. It is beyond the effects of prakriti or nature and is therefore the door to liberation. Siddhasana is a purely meditative posture. It is designed to channel the prana or vital energy directly to Anja chakra. Shabhavi mudra stimulates Anja chakra so that the pranic impulses coming up from the lower centers can be received. When the chin is placed on the chest, a simplified form of Yalandhara and Ujjayi pranayama is automatically performed. This adjusts the heart rate, blood pressure, and brainwave pattern. When you first start to practice meditation, other postures can be utilized, but in the final stages, when the external consciousness drops and inner consciousness begins to pervade, Siddhasana is the best posture as it enables you to handle the changes that take place in the body during deep meditation. When the mental fluctuations cease, inner consciousness blooms forth and exterior consciousness withdraws. The body metabolism alters. The brain waves, inner body temperature, and skin resistance undergo tremendous changes. and the effects on the consciousness can be detrimental if one is not careful. Siddhasana prevents nervous depression from occurring during meditation, as it stops the blood pressure from falling too low, regulates the production of male hormone testosterone, and helps maintain the inner body temperature. It stabilizes the two lower psychic centers, Muladhara chakra and Siddhasana chakra, redirecting prana upwards towards the higher centers. Blockage of energy within these two centers is responsible for many health problems. It also poses a barrier which has to be crossed in spiritual life. Muladhara is the root center in which an infinite source of pranic energy lies dormant, while Siddhasana is the center responsible for the sexual and emotional metabolism in which our psychic energy most spontaneously manifests itself. When our emotional life does not extend beyond this plane, blood pressure and cardiac function remain unstable, and our role and purpose in life remain ill-defined and unclear. On a pranic level, Siddhasana balances the alternating flows of Ida and Pingala nadis, thus activating Sushumna. Many people consider Padmasana as the ultimate posture for meditation. However, Siddhasana is easier to practice and maintain. In Siddhasana, the feet are less likely to fall asleep and the body is locked firmly in its position. Siddhasana also stabilizes cardiac function, and if practiced throughout life, it bestows protection from emotional ravages and stabilizes the passions, preventing later cardiac demise. Swami Sivananda has said that Siddhasana is actually the best practice for most people, even those with large size, and it is essential for those who wish to observe celibacy. If one can master this asana, one will acquire siddhis. Okay. And then there's the next verse, 36, looks to be, well, I don't know. It's continuing on about Siddhasana. Shall I go on?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just skimming over this 36.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a modified version of it. They didn't show a picture though.
No, they don't show a picture. This is a modified version of Siddhasana, best for those who are unable to sit in the way previously described. Hatha Ratnavali agrees that some people consider this variation to be Siddhasana, but other Hatha yoga texts, such as Goraksha, Satkara, and Shiva Samhita, describe Siddhasana with one heel pressing the perineum and the other on top. It is the most widely practiced form of Siddhasana even today, and the Natha yogas use only that. And then I think it goes on. Well, I think this might be an extension into other postures.
Yeah.
So I have never been able to do Siddhasana at all. I mean, basically when other people are sitting in, adept's pose or I guess lotus comes in here, although I'm not sure. When other people are sitting there, I'm just basically sitting cross-legged.
Yeah.
But I have, what's really interesting is that when they talk about sitting in a way that controls the lowest two chakras,
Yeah.
so that your blood pressure doesn't drop too much and your heart rate keeps you in the living range, I have had an experience which was supported by numbers and measurements that in Amanda's class, and this was not sitting in Siddhasana, this was Yoga Nidra. So, you're lying down in Shavasana pose, basically.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty long Yoga Nidra. at the end of a particularly good, serious class. And right after that, I had to go see a cardiologist just for a checkup. So I went into the cardiologist office. So there has to be at least 15 minutes between the end of class and me getting to the cardiologist. And the first thing they do, of course, is take your blood pressure and your heart rate and temperature and that kind of thing. And as soon as she took my blood pressure, she said, "Did you drive here?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "How do you feel?" And I said, "Very peaceful. We just did yoga nidra. Do you know what yoga nidra is?" Blah, blah, blah. She says, lie down now." So my blood pressure was so low, she thought I was having some kind of episode.
Oh my
And
God.
it was the result of yoga nidra. And so I like the idea of being able to control. There's definite bodily fluctuations. There is absolutely no question.
Yeah.
Because I have a blood pressure machine at home because my husband needed it. And I have a heart rate and oxygen meter here because of COVID. And I have, after doing certain practices at home, tested my blood pressure and tested and evaluated heart rate and oxygen measure. And they really are strongly affected by doing yoga of any sort, much less sitting and meditating for any amount of time. But I like the idea of being able to sit or meditate in a way that is appropriate so that it supports your bodily functions and your blood pressure doesn't get too low.
Yeah.
And your heart rate doesn't get too low, because that's not good either.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought that was rather interesting.
Yeah. I feel like we're always trying, like for me, I'm always doing it to lower my blood pressure. But there is a too low point, and I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, there is a too low, as in you pass out and face plant on your steering wheel and crash into a tree low point.
Yeah. Like they I've heard, like, after a restorative class or a good yoga nidra, like, don't rush out of the yoga studio and rush out to the next place. Like, give your body a minute to balance itself to be able to drive.
Well, since that happened, when I now get into a car after a yoga practice, in the days when I actually went to a yoga studio, I sit there for a minute and I take a couple of deep breaths and say, "Okay, you're driving now. Now you're driving. Now you're going to pay attention to the road and to signs and to lights, because you're driving now." And that usually helps to get me back. That's all I have to do. It takes like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I get back into, okay, you can drive without daydreaming past a red light.
I can't. I think I've shared this before, but I can't get an accurate blood pressure because, like, I use my yoga tools to regulate myself when I go to the doctors, because my blood pressure spikes so high because my anxiety is so high because I get white coat syndrome.
Yeah.
That I have to meditate for 20 minutes before I have to make I have to try to get the first appointment of the day, do my meditation. And that was before we were doing it like daily. I would just have to like do a 20-minute meditation and no coffee because the caffeine would spike me. And my treat coming home would be my cup of coffee.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the one time I went and I didn't do it, they were like, "If you don't come down, we have to send you to the hospital." That's how high my blood pressure was. Like, it was dangerous. But I'm like, I know I can feel it. Like, I can regulate myself. And they're looking at me like I'm a crazy person. I'm like, I just didn't meditate before I came, and I'm like anxious. So I was able to take a few breaths. That 2-to-1 breathing is how I have to breathe it when I'm at the doctor's office.
Are you talking about count in 4, breathe out 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I have to breathe. Like, I have to do my meditation, and then when I'm at the doctor's office, I have to breathe. And my primary doctors, I mean, now all my medical doctors know me, and like, I'm not as bad as I used to be because I'm a little bit more comfortable. But my one primary doctor was like, "Just take a deep breath in." And I'm taking like the deepest breath and she's like, "I don't need to tell a yoga practitioner to take a deep breath. Like, it just comes naturally to me."
Yeah.
But I can imagine how many people, I'm so aware of my breath and how I breathe I can't even, I feel like that's why so many people suffer with illness and disease and anxiety and not being well, because they're not breathing properly. They're breathing into their chest
Yes.
all day long.
Remember, I think I told you that a long time ago, and this was in the late 80s and early to mid 90s. My agency ran a camp for families affected by HIV/AIDS. So entire families would come to camp. We would split the kids up and put them into kids' cabins, and so that parents had a break from everything, you know, and many of these kids were sick. So, you know, we had this medical office that was really completely staffed by, you know, infectious disease doctors and experienced nurses and that kind of thing. Very nice setup, and this camp experience, I think, was pretty great for most families. Well, I ran the camp for several years, and I went into the medical office one afternoon just to watch the afternoon checkup, because I'm not a doctor, what do I know about this? And I thought, well, you know, go look. And so I went in, and one of the nurses was teaching the kids how to breathe, because the kids, especially those who were in pain, we talk about white coat syndrome. These are kids who have faced doctors virtually all their life.
Yeah.
And some of them just immediately start hyperventilating when you would walk them up to the medical cabin. So she was teaching him, and that was the first time I learned about breathing and anxiety control and pain modification. And, you know, I just watched, and I wasn't doing yoga at the time. I watched, I was in awe. And it was quite something, because not only did that kid calm down, but they were able, who knows what medical procedures they had to do with this kid. I don't know if this was a blood draw, or if this was, and the medications the kids had to take back then were awful. They tasted absolutely terrible. They were punishing on top of everything else.
Yeah.
You know, these kids took punishing meds. And so I think they might have been just prepping this kid to take his meds so that he didn't spit it out or throw up or something. And I was just so impressed by it. And so, yeah, the breathing makes a huge difference. But that she knew that. So.
Yeah, and like, I guess I was talking about this yesterday when I was teaching, this idea of like meditation. It was something that was like a word to me. It wasn't really like a thing until we started doing it more during COVID. And I did it during yoga teacher training and here and there, but like this practice this year is really, I'm really experiencing the benefits of meditation practice. And I'm shifting it into this gratitude practice and realizing the benefits of that, writing down the 3 things every day. And it's only been, not even, tomorrow will be a week. But this idea of yoga and breathing, like, until you really experience it, it's hard to explain to other people that it's good for you. But what I like about this book, it's like, and even with when I was like learning more about, especially how Amanda teaches, because Amanda has such Amanda's classes are so powerful to me, because she teaches so smartly to the season, and she can really, like, you might be like, I need this, like I need this, but she pretty much knows what we need. And I never leave class like with a headache or a high anxiety. Like, no matter what I'm walking in, I'm always walking out calmer than wherever I was, or just in like a good place. And so reading this book and like her telling us like it's important to sit this way because chakra 1 and 2, you know, like it's like, it's just, or like you just mentioned about the too low blood pressure, like there's a reason. I think what I'm trying to say is, like, in yoga, behind everything there is a reason. It's not just sit like this because it looks pretty. it sit like this, put your heel here, put that heel here, because that heel's going to do this and this heel's going to do that. And your bottom two chakras are going to help with the third eye chakra, like it,
Yeah.
there's a reason. And like, what else I love, like chakras are just like, it's just another word for, it's just like a word for what our internal body, like it's tied
Yeah.
to the organs and stuff. So
Yes.
people are like, I have this chakra thing behind me, and like, yeah, I'm into the chakras and stuff, but really it's just because it's my body inside. That's what's most interesting to me.
It is interesting. And I have a little sidebar question. So for the next 8 weeks on Monday evenings, I cannot come to Amanda's thing because I'm trying to get in more walking during the day, and the gym I belong to is doing Monday night walk and run training thing. So that's where I will be. So does Amanda, is her class taped, and can I
Yeah.
pick it up online taped?
Yeah, so if you go onto the Rev website,
Yeah.
whole video archive. I don't know how quickly for that day they get, but there's a whole like a library of videos there that you can pick classes.
Okay, thank you. Because while I probably wouldn't do it immediately when I got home, and it probably wouldn't be till the next day or something like that.
Yeah.
But if it ends up being uploaded, that's very helpful. That's very nice. Okay, thanks. That's a good thing.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I don't use it because I'd rather just take, otherwise to me it's like more like a home practice. You're just following along. I try to take it when the teachers are recording, but it's nice. It's a useful tool that it's there.
Yes, it is. And I haven't done that yet. And I'm thinking now would be a good time to try. So that's good.
Yeah, you got to is your walking outside with the gym?
Yeah, it is going to be actually Valley Stream has a town park called Hendrickson Park, which has a 1 mile loop and then a little extension on it. So it's a 1.5 mile loop.
Okay.
And actually, if you're feeling really ambitious, you can cross the street, go into Valley Stream State Park. And if you walk around the whole big park, the playing fields and the huge parking lot, you can end up with like a 3.5 mile walk, which is nice.
Oh yeah.
My husband and I did that yesterday. But I thought this is good because I like having this external structure that says, Sue, you promised you were going to show up. Show up.
Yeah.
It helps me.
Yeah.
That's one reason why I signed up for this,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's outside and it will be in Hendrickson Park. And I signed up, and I think a friend of mine might be doing it, although maybe not tonight because today's Yom Kippur and she's observant. But it should be a good thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get these final weeks in, because soon when the clocks change and winter comes, it's going to be too dark and cold.
Yes. Yeah. And even though I'm from Buffalo, cold didn't used to bother me, but now that I'm an old woman, it's starting to creep into my soul and saying,
Yeah.
It bothers me now. So.
Yes, and it's nice out today.
It is. It's humid.
Humid. My goodness, last night it was pretty humid too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, my husband actually put on the air conditioner just to pull out he used it as a dehumidifier to pull in our bedroom so he could sleep.
We don't have ours in anymore, but we probably would. I passed out, but I woke up, I was like drenched in sweat because of the humidity.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So should we move into breath work and just meditate?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
It works for me. So I just want to make sure I'm ready for tomorrow.
I think we start on 37.
Okay. Yes, that's right, because then we get into a couple of other postures, even though the picture looks very similar. Oh, well, we'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So setting up for a few rounds of alternate nostril breathing, but just starting by paying attention to how you're breathing now. Picking your drishti, whether your eyes are open or closed, finding that spot to gaze on externally or internally. Check in with the breath, and then begin to lengthen the breath, begin to manipulate it. Inhale, fill up the low belly, expand belly button out, and then exhale, bring belly button down to spine, let all the air out. And then letting your left palm stay rested in your lap, bring your right hand over your nose, right thumb will close right nostril, right ring finger will close left nostril. Closing off the right nostril, inhale through your left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Taking 5 more rounds on your own breath. Making sure to finish out exhaling through your left nostril. Taking your time to finish, then moving into your meditation. And start the timer for 20 minutes. Bringing hands to clasp. Namaste.
Can you hear? Yeah, you can hear me.
Yep.
Yeah, let's